Hey there, YouTube. This is CFL Fanatic. Here I am giving you my picks for Week 5 in the 2011 CFL season. Once again, the season is shaping up to be very interesting. Just a quick portion of news. The CFL is now looking into some equipment safety issues with the helmets that keep flying off. There were a ton of helmets that flew off in the Toronto-Winnipeg game last week. So the league is looking into that. So far it's been an interesting week. Yeah, not much else can be said. The Edmonton Eskimos continuing to astound everybody at 4-0. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers surprising too at 4-1. BC Lions 0-5. So they've got their struggles. So last week I was 2-2. Once again, picked BC. Shouldn't have done that. That takes my total to 2-2. Schultze was 2-2 as well. I'm sorry if it said 4-0 there because he wasn't. Anyways, that takes my total to 8-8. Schultze is 8-8. Although thanks to the Winnipeg game, I'm not including it in this week's thing. But technically, because of the Winnipeg win last week, we are both 9-8. We agreed on that pick, and we were good. So getting onto the tragic news this week. There's a picture of Doug Brown, and he has obviously been very deeply affected by the sudden death of Bombers defensive line coach Richard Harris. Harris collapsed in his office on Tuesday. He was rushed to hospital and pronounced dead at the age of 63. The Bombers dedicated last night's game in Harris's memory, and they managed to pull off a comeback win against the BC Lions. Yeah, so some very tough news, very tough times for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers organization, but hopefully they'll be able to grieve and then move past it. All right, so on to Week 5. We'll talk about the game last night. Big game, moment of silence for Richard Harris before the game. And then we started. We had some struggles on offense, especially for Winnipeg in the first half, but then Winnipeg managed to pull it back. Ended up going up by 5 points late in the game, taking the lead back. Then the ball was in Travis Lulay's court, where he was once again in a situation very similar to what he was in last week. And last week in Hamilton, Lulay's big problem was he really looked bad under pressure. Not just him, the entire offense, but particularly Lulay looked very bad under pressure, and last night was no exception either. Once again, Lulay got the ball back, had a chance to make a difference with a couple minutes left, and once again flattened out under pressure. And as a result, the Lions are 0-5. Okay, Montreal and Hamilton. Montreal coming off a shocking loss last week to the Saskatchewan Roughriders. I was quite happy to see that. Little concerned to see Calvillo leave the game and then have no word as to what the injury was, but obviously I'm not sure if I've actually even heard what the deal was, so if someone could fill me in on that would be great. But obviously it wasn't too serious because he is back and he's going to be starting. I was kind of surprised because if I were the Alouettes, I would almost be inclined to start McPherson for this game. Because it's early in the season, so you have a couple games where you can screw up and still pull off a good season, especially if you're the Montreal Alouettes. But the fact of the matter is that Calvillo is not going to be around forever, and once I saw McPherson in that game against Saskatchewan, I was less than impressed. I will say that. I really didn't like him. So I thought missed opportunity. But with Calvillo starting against the Tiger Cats, I definitely have to take the Alouettes. They'll be looking to get back on the bandwagon. So Toronto at Edmonton. You know that I'm a cynic. I'm always very cynical and quick to point out the negatives about the Toronto Argonauts because, they are my team and I am always very hard on them. But it's important to look at the positives, especially on offense in a first quarter that the Argos just looked absolutely incredible. And they showed us a glimpse of what this Argo offense can be if they really put their minds to it. They can be a threat. They can dominate. Their biggest problem last week was consistency. They had a lot of trouble moving the ball after that. Dalton Bell is getting the start against Edmonton. And the more and more I think about this, the less and less I like this call, because I don't think it makes much sense. Cleo Lemon was 5 for 5 before he went out of the game with a chipped tooth, and if he's good to go, he really should be starting this game, because Lemon was really on his game to start, and it could have been very, very big for him. Sorry, phone ringing. Anyways, so the Toronto Argonauts offensively can do a good job, but defensively, if they could not stop the Bombers, I don't like their chances against Ricky Ray and the Eskimos. Sorry about that. Okay, on to this game, and this was probably the toughest game to pick all week, because, it's just really tough. You have the Calgary Stampeders coming into this game at 2-2. They've lost their last 2 in a row. Or, excuse me, that's a lie. What am I talking about? They lost their first one and they lost the one last week. The biggest problem for Calgary has been field goal kicking in critical situations. That has been really, really bad for them. So yeah, the Saskatchewan Roughriders, on the other hand, coming off a big win. I'm sure a lot of people will be quick to point out that the win did come right after Anthony Calvillo left the game, which is an important factor, but I don't think that's entirely why Saskatchewan won the game. Saskatchewan got good pressure on the quarterback all night. It was very good. That led to the injury to Calvillo. So it's tough. Saskatchewan, though, looks like they're on their game. Calgary's offense, I really don't like them, and I think that they're going to have a tough time against the Rider defense. I'm going to disagree with Chris Schultz, and I'm going to take the Riders to win this one. All right, so those are my picks. Montreal over Hamilton, Edmonton over Toronto, Saskatchewan over Calgary. So could be an interesting week, and we'll see how things going, and hopefully no more helmets are flying off of players. So I will be back next week for my Week 6 picks, and I will see you then.